The McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle is an American twin-engine all-weather fighter aircraft designed by McDonnell Douglas, now part of Boeing. Following reviews of proposals, the United States Air Force selected McDonnell Douglas's design in 1969 to meet the service's need for a dedicated air superiority fighter. The Eagle took its maiden flight in July 1972 and entered service in 1976. It is among the most successful modern fighters, with over 100 victories and 0 losses in aerial combat. Yeah, fucking epic. With the majority of the kills by Israeli Air Force. The latest version, the Boeing F-15EX Eagle II, is in production now, and fucking amazing it will be. The Eagle has been exported to many countries, including Israel, Japan, and Saudi Arabia. Although the F-15 was originally envisioned as a pure air superiority fighter, its design included a secondary ground attack capability that was largely unused. It proved flexible enough that an improvised all-weather strike derivative, the F-15E Strike Eagle, was later developed. Entered service in 1989 and has been exported to several nations since. Several additional Eagle and Strike Eagle subvariants have been produced for foreign customers, with the production of enhanced variants ongoing. The F-15 was the principal air superiority fighter of the United States Air Force and U.S. allies during the Cold War and late 90s. Replacing the F-4 Phantom II, the Eagle was the first used in combat by the Israeli Air Force in 1979 and saw extensive action in the 1982 Lebanon War. In United States Air Force service, the aircraft saw combat in action in 1991 Gulf War and the conflict over Yugoslavia. The U.S. Air Force had planned to replace all of its air superiority F-15A, B, C, and Ds with the F-22 Raptor by the 2010s, but the severely reduced procurement pushed the F-15C and D retirement to 2026 and forced the service to supplement the F-22 with the advanced Eagle variant, the F-15EX, in order to retain an adequate number of air superiority fighters. The F-15 remains in service with numerous countries, and the Strike Eagle variant is expected to continue operating in the United States Air Force into the 2030s. The F-15 can trace its origins to the early Vietnam War, when the United States Air Force and United States Navy fought each other over the future tactical aircraft. Defense Secretary Robert McNamara was pressing for both services to use as many common aircraft as possible, even if performance compromises were involved. As part of this policy, the United States Air Force and Navy had embarked on the TFX F-111 program, aiming to deliver a medium-range interdiction aircraft for the Air Force that would also serve as long-range interceptor aircraft for the Navy. In January 1965, Secretary McNamara asked the Air Force to consider a new low-cost tactical fighter design for short-range roles and close air support to replace several types like the F-100 Super Sabre and various light bombers then in service. Several existing designs could fill this role. The Navy favored the Douglas A-4 Skyhawk and LTV A-7 Corsair II, which were pure attack aircraft, while the Air Force was more interested in the Northrop F-5 fighter with the secondary attack capability. The A-4 and A-7 were more capable in attack role, while the F-5 less so, but could defend itself. The Air Force chose a pure attack design. Maintaining air superiority would be a priority for the new airframe. The next month, a report on light tactical aircraft suggested the Air Force purchase the F-5 or A-7 and consider a new higher performance aircraft to ensure its air superiority. This point was reinforced after the loss of two Republic F-105 Thunder Chief aircraft to obsolete MiG-17s. Damn it! Attacking the Tan Hoa Bridge on the 4th of April 1965. In April 1965, Harold Brown, at the time Director of Department of Defense and Research and Engineering, stated the favored position was to consider the F-5 and begin studies on it of an FX. These early studies envisioned a production run of 800 to 1,000 aircraft and stressed maneuverability over speed. It also stated the aircraft would not be considered without some level of ground attack capability. On the 1st of August, General Gabriel Desosway took command of Tactical Air Command and reiterated calls for the FX, but lowered the required performance from Mach 3 to Mach 2.5 to lower costs. An official requirements document for an air superiority fighter was finalized on October 1965 and sent out as a request for proposals to 13 companies on the 8th of December. Meanwhile, the Air Force chose the A-7 over the F-5 for the support role on the 5th of November 1965, giving further impetus for an air superiority design as the A-7 lacked any credible air-to-air capabilities. 8 companies responded with proposals. Following a down select, 4 companies were asked to provide further developments. In total, they developed some 500 design concepts. Typical designs featured variable sweep wings, weight over 60,000 pounds, or 27,000 kilograms, included a top speed of Mach 2.7 and a thrust-to-weight ratio of 0.75. When the proposals were studied in July 1966, the aircraft were roughly the size and weight of the TFX-111. And like that aircraft, were designs that could not be considered an air superiority fighter. Through this period, the studies of combat over Vietnam were producing worrying results. Theory had stressed long-range combat using missiles and optimized aircraft for this role. The result was highly loaded aircraft with large radar and excellent speed, but limited maneuverability and often lacking a gun. The canonical example is the McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom II, used by the United States Air Force, United States Navy, and the United States Marine Corps. To provide air superiority over Vietnam, the only fighter with enough power, range, and maneuverability to be given the primary task of dealing with the threat of Soviet fighters while flying with visual engagement rules. In practice, due to policy and practical reasons, aircraft were closing to visual range and maneuvering, placing the larger U.S. aircraft at disadvantage to much less expensive day fighters such as the MiG-21. Missiles proved to be much less reliable than predicted, especially at close range, although improved training and the introduction of the M61 Vulcan cannon on the F-4 did much to address this disparity. These early outcomes led to considerable reevaluation of the 1963 Project Forecast Doctrine. This led to John Boyd's energy maneuverability theory, which stressed that extra power and maneuverability were key aspects of a successful fighter design, and these were more important than an outright speed. Through tireless championing of concepts and good timing with the failure of the initial FX project, the fighter mafia, quote-unquote, pressed for a lightweight day fighter that could be built and operated in large numbers to ensure air superiority. In early 1967, they proposed that the ideal design had a thrust-to-weight ratio of nearly 1-to-1 and a maximum speed further reduced to that of Mach 2.3, a weight of 40,000 pounds or 18,000 kilograms, and a wing loading of 80 pounds per square foot or 390 kilograms per meter squared. By this time, the Navy had decided the F-111 would not meet their requirements and began development of a new dedicated fighter design, the VFAX program. In May 1966, McNamara again asked the forces to study the designs and see whether the VFAX would meet the Air Force's FX needs. The resulting studies took 18 months and concluded that the desired features were too different. The Navy stressed loiter time and mission flexibility, while the Air Force was now looking primarily for maneuverability. In 1967, the Soviet Union revealed the Mikoyan Girovich MiG-25 Foxbat at the Domodedovo airfield near Moscow. The MiG-25 was designed as a high-speed, high-altitude interceptor aircraft and made many performance trade-offs to excel in this role. Among these was the requirement for very high speed, over Mach 2.8, which demanded the use of stainless steel instead of aluminum for many parts of the aircraft. The added weight demanded a much larger wing to allow the aircraft to operate at required high altitudes. However, to observers, it appeared the outwardly similar to the very large FX studies. An aircraft with high speed and large wing offering high maneuverability, leading to serious concerns throughout the Department of Defense and various arms that the U.S. was being outclassed. Damn it. We were not being outclassed. The MiG-23 was likely a subject of concern and was generally believed to be a better aircraft than the F-4. The FX would outclass the MiG-23, but now MiG-25 appeared to be superior in speed, ceiling, and endurance to all existing U.S. fighters, even the FX. Thus, an effort to improve the FX followed. Both headquarters, United States Air Force and TAC, continued to call for multi-purpose aircraft, while both Dissosway and Air Chief of Staff Bruce K. Holloway pressed for a pure air superiority design that would be able to meet the expected performance of the MiG-25. During the same period, the Navy had ended its VFAX program and instead selected a proposal from Grumman for the smaller and more maneuverable design known as the VFX, later becoming the Grumman F-14 Tomcat, which we will go over next. VFX was considerably closer to the evolving FX requirements. The Air Force in fighting was eventually ended by the worry that the Navy's VFAX would be forced on them. Ha ha ha. Suck it, Navy. In May 1968, it was stated that we finally decided, and I hope there is no one who still disagrees, that this aircraft is going to be an air superiority fighter. 4 companies submitted proposals, with the Air Force eliminating General Dynamics and awarding contracts to Fairchild Republic, North American Rockwell, and McDonnell Douglas for the definition phase in December 1968. The companies submitted technical proposals by June 1969. The Air Force announced the selection of McDonnell Douglas on the 23rd of December 1969. Like the Navy's VFX, the FX skipped much of the prototype phase and jumped straight into full-scale development to save time and avoid potential program cancellation. Winning design resembled a twin-tailed F-14 but with fixed wings. Both designs were based on configurations studied in wind tunnel testing by NASA. The Eagle's initial versions were the F-15 single-seat variant and the TF-15 twin-seat variant. After the F-15C was first flown, the designations were changed to F-15A and F-15B, respectively. These versions would be powered by new Pratt & Whitney F-100 engines to achieve combat thrust-to-weight ratio excess of 1:1. A proposed 25mm Ford Philco GAU-7 cannon with caseless ammunition suffered development problems. It was dropped in favor of the standard M61 Vulcan gun. The F-15 used conformal carriage of 4 Sparrow missiles like the Phantom. The fixed wing was put onto a flat, wide fuselage that also provided effective lifting body surface. The airframe was designed with a 4,000-hour service life, although was later increased through testing and life extension modifications to 8,000 hours, and some would fly beyond that. The first F-15A flight was made on July 27, 1972, with the first flight of the two-seat F-15B following in July 1973. The F-15 has a lockdown, shoot-down radar that can distinguish low-flying moving targets from ground clutter. It would use a computer technology with new controls and displays to lower pilot workload and require only one pilot to save weight. Unlike the F-14 or F-4, the F-15 has only a single canopy frame with clear vision forward. United States Air Force introduced the F-15 as the first dedicated United States Air Force superiority fighter since North American F-86 Sabre. The F-15 was favored by customers such as Israel and Japan Air Arms. Criticism from the fighter mafia that the F-15 was too large to be a dedicated dogfighter and too expensive to procure in large numbers led to the lightweight fighter program, which led to the United States Air Force General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon and the middleweight class fighter, the Navy McDonnell Douglas FA-18 Hornet. Both the F-16 and the F-18 we've done thus far. The single-seat F-15E and two-seat F-15D models entered production in 1978 and conducted their first flights in February and June of that year. These models were fitted with production Eagle package, BEP 2000, which included 2,000 pounds or 910 kilograms of additional internal fuel, provisions for exterior conformal fuel tanks, CFT, and increased maximum takeoff weight up to 68,000 pounds or 31,000 kilograms. The increased takeoff weight allows internal fuel, a full weapons load, conformal fuel tanks, and 3 external fuel tanks to be carried. The APG-63 radar uses Programmable Signal Processor, or a PSP, a PlayStation Portable, just kidding, enabling the radar to be pre-programmable for additional purposes such as addition of new armaments and equipment. The PlayStation PSP Programmable Signal Processor was the first of its kind in the world and upgraded the APG-63 radar. Was the first radar to use it. Other improvements included strengthened landing gear, new digital central computer, and an overload warning system, or OWS, which allows the pilot to fly up to 9G at all weights. The fucking plane, dude, damn. So good. The F-15 Multi-Stage Improvement Program, or MSIP, was initiated in February 1983 with the first production MSIP F-15C produced in 1985. Improvements included an upgraded central computer, programmable armament control set, allowing for advanced versions of the AIM-7, AIM-9, and AIM-120A missiles, and an expanded tactical electronic warfare system that provides improvements to the ALR-56C radar warning receiver and the ALQ-135 countermeasure set. The final 43 F-15Cs included a Hughes APG-70 radar developed for the F-15E. These are sometimes referred as Enhanced Eagles, or Eagle Eyes. Earlier, MSIP 15Cs with the APG-63 were upgraded to the APG-63V1 to improve maintainability and perform similar to the APG-70. Existing F-15s were retrofitted with these improvements. Also beginning in 1985, the F-15C and D models were equipped with the improved P&W F-100 PW220 engine and digital engine controls, providing quicker throttle response, reduced wear, and lower fuel consumption. Starting in 1997, the original F-100 PW100 engines were upgraded to a similar configuration with the designation F-100 PW220E. In 2000, The APG-63V2 Active Electronically Scanned Array, or AESA radar, was retrofitted to the 18 U.S. Air Force F-15C aircraft. The ZAP, or Zone Acquisition Program, missile launch envelope, has been integrated into the operational flight program system of all U.S. F-15 aircraft, providing dynamic launch zone and launch acceptability region information for missiles to the pilot by display cues in real time. Although the Air Force's FX requirements were focused on air superiority, McDonnell Douglas had quietly included a basic secondary ground attack capability in the F-15's design since the beginning, and also performed early initial studies for enhancing that capability. In 1979, McDonnell Douglas and the F-15 radar manufacturer, Hughes, teamed to privately develop a strike fighter version of the F-15. A version completed in the Air Force's dual-role fighter competition starting in 1982. Not completed, sorry. The F-15E strike variant was selected for production over General Dynamics' competing F-16XL in 1984. It is a two-seat, dual-role, totally integrated fighter for all-weather, air-to-air, and deep interdiction missions. The rear cockpit is upgraded to include 4 multi-purpose cathode ray tube displays for aircraft systems and weapons management. The digital, triple-redundant Lear-Siegler aircraft flight control system permits coupled automatic terrain following, enhanced by a ring laser gyro inertial navigation system. For low altitude, high-speed penetration and precision attack on tactical targets at night or in adverse weather, where the F-15E carries a high-resolution APG-70 radar and lantern pods to provide thermography. The F-15E would be developed into the F-15 Advanced Eagle family, which features fly-by-wire controls, and Advanced Eagle is currently the basis of all F-15 production. Beginning in 2006, with the threat of curtailed procurement of the F-22 that was to replace all air superiority F-15s, the United States Air Force planned to modernize 179 F-15Cs in the best material condition in order to maintain fighter fleet size by retrofitting the AN APG-63V3 AESA radar and updated cockpit displays. The first upgraded aircraft was delivered in October 2010. A significant number of F-15s were equipped with the Joint Helmet-Mounted Cueing System. Lockheed Martin developed an infrared search and track IRST sensor system for tactical fighters such as the F-15C, eventually resulting in the AN/ASG-34V1 IRST-21 sensor mounted on the Legion pod. The AN/AAQ-33 Sniper XR pod was also integrated as a makeshift interim IRST solution. A follow-on upgrade called the Eagle Passive Active Warning Survivability System, or EPAWSS, was planned. EPAWSS. Boeing was selected in October 2015 to serve as prime contractor for the EPAWSS, with BAE Systems selected as subcontractor. The EPAWSS, an all-digital system with an advanced electronic countermeasures, radar warning, and increased chaff and flare capabilities and similar footprint than the 1980s era tactical electronic warfare system. More than 400 F-15Cs and F-15Es were planned to have the system installed. In September 2015, Boeing unveiled its 2040 Sea Eagle upgrade, also called the Golden Eagle, designed to keep the F-15s relevant through 2040. Seen as a necessity because low numbers of F-22s procured, the upgrade builds upon the company's F-15 SE Silent Eagle concept with low observable features. Most improvements focus on lethality, including quad-pack munitions racks to double its missile load to 16. Conformal fuel tanks for extended range. Talon Hate communications pod to communicate with fifth-generation fighters, the APG-63V3 AESA radar, long-range Legion IRST pod, and the EPOS electronic warfare suite. The 2040C upgrade for the F-15C and D was not pursued, owing to the airframe's age that made it not economically sustainable, but many of the components, such as EPOS and AESA radar, were continued for F-15E upgrades, as well as new build F-15EX Eagle II ordered by the United States Air Force in 2020. The F-15EX Eagle II took advantage of existing Advanced Eagle production line for export customers to minimize lead times and startup costs to replace the remaining F-15C and Ds, whereas F-22 production restart was considered cost prohibitive. The F-15 has an all-metal semi-monocoque fuselage with a large cantilever shoulder-mounted wing. The wing platform of the F-15 suggests a modified cropped delta shape with the leading edge swept back angle of 45 degrees. Ailerons and a simple high-lift flap are located on the trailing edge. No leading-edge maneuvering flaps are used. This complication was avoided by the combination of low wing loading and fixed leading-edge conical camber that varies with span-wise position along the wing. Airfoil thickness ratios vary from 5.9% at the root to 3% at the tip. The empennage is made of metal and composite construction, with twin aluminum alloy, composite material, honeycomb structure, vertical stabilizers, with boron composite skin, resulting in an exceptionally thin tailplane and rudders. Composite horizontal all-moving tails outboard of the vertical stabilizers move independently to provide roll control in some flight maneuvers. The horizontal tails have dog-tooth notch to mitigate the flutter. The F-15 has a spine-mounted air brake and retractable tricycle landing gear. It is powered by two Pratt & Whitney F100 axial flow turbofan engines with afterburners, mounted side by side in the fuselage and fed by rectangular inlets with variable intake ramps. The cockpit is mounted high in the forward fuselage with one-piece widescreen and large canopy for increased visibility and a 360 field of view for the pilot. The airframe consists of 37% aluminum, 29.2% honeycomb, and 25.8% titanium, 5.5% steel, and 2% composites and fiberglass. The structure began to incorporate advanced superplasticity formed titanium components in the 1980s. Holy shit, the amount of technology that goes into just the plane itself, just the shell of the plane. Fucking wild. F-15's maneuverability is derived from low wing loading, weight to wing area ratio, with high thrust to weight ratio, enabling the aircraft to turn tightly at up to 9 Gs without losing airspeed. The F-15 can climb to 30,000 feet, 9,100 meters, in around 60 seconds. At certain speeds, the dynamic thrust output of dual engines is greater than the aircraft's combat weight and drag, so it has the ability to accelerate vertically. The weapons and flight control systems are designed so that one person can safely and effectively perform air-to-air combat. The A and C models are single-seat variants. These were the main air superiority versions produced. B and D models add a second seat behind the pilot for training, although they are fully combat capable. E models use a second seat for weapon systems officer. Visibility of the F-15 has a unique feature vis-a-vis other modern fighter aircraft. This does not have the distinctive turkey feather aerodynamic exhaust pedals covering the engine nozzles. Following problems during development of its exhaust pedal design including dislodgement during flight. The decision was made to remove them, resulting in 3% aerodynamic drag increase. The F-15 was shown to be capable of controlled flight with only one wing after an Israeli F-15D suffered a mid-air collision with an A-4 Skyhawk that removed most of the right wing. In 1983, Negev mid-air collision. Holy shit. While the A-4 was instantly disintegrated with the pilot being automatically ejected, the F-15 was sent into an uncontrollable roll. Through the application of full afterburner, as well as a landing at twice the normal speed, pilot Zivi Nadivi managed to land successfully at Ramon Air Base. The subsequent wind tunnel tests on a one-wing model confirmed the controllable flight was only possible within a very limited range of plus or minus 20 knots and an angle of attack of variation of plus or minus 20 degrees. The event resulted in research damage adaptive technology in a system called Intelligent Flight Control System. Fucking F-15 is legendary, buddy. Appreciate y'all for coming in, hanging out, hitting the like, sharing out the stream, being fucking awesome, being a bunch of legends. Hope you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you're at in the world. Enjoy your time, because it may be limited. You never know. You never know how limited it can be. You go sit on the toilet and accidentally fall in. Get sucked down the tube. Now you're in Super Mario Land. As that is absolutely not a possibility. Even still, enjoy your fucking time, because it may be limited, you never know. Much love, everybody. I will catch y'all next time. That is it for me. Deuces.